Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and today it is all about the Sutherland Little Loco phono preamp. It defies expectations of what a phono preamp can do. And the fact that I could listen to recordings that are 30, 40, even 50 years old and hear music with life. There's life in those grooves. It's locked into those grooves. The hard part is pulling it out of those grooves. But the Little Loco was designed by Ron Sutherland. And Ron Sutherland has been in the business a long time, designing electronics, preamps, and stuff. But he is now only designing phono preamps. He is a phono preamp specialist. And that's saying a lot, because when I show you his front page, all he has is phono preamps. And I think he's actually going more and more towards the Little Loco and its bigger brother, the Phono Loco, and the bigger one, the Big Loco. Most of my reviews, I do so many reviews, I got to get in and out really fast. But this review has taken its time because mostly because I was just having a good time doing the review. Oh, I should mention this up front. It is primarily a moving coil phono preamp. It's not to say 100%, but 98% of the time it's going to work best with moving coil cartridges and best with low output moving coil cartridges. But it is a current mode phono preamp, a transimpedance, if you will, phono preamp. Now, I reviewed one just a little while ago by Vandenhull, that's the name of the company, and the model was the Grail. That one was $7,950. A lot of money. And that's why I wanted to do the Little Loco, because it is $3,800. You know, sort of half the price, right? So how did they match up? Well, I'll tell you right away. There's things that I did like about the Grail over the Little Loco. I think the Grail had just more heft to the sound. It was more muscular. But the Little Loco wasn't that far behind, and they both shared a near uncanny ability to dig deep into the sound, the quieter parts of the recording, hear the room, to hear very subtle things they've always been there in the groove, waiting to be heard, and now I'm hearing them. And both preamps, the Little Loco and the Grail, had that ability to just let me hear more and more from the recordings. And they were both extremely dynamic. The soft to loud dynamics are just so much better than any other phono preamps I've had here at home. So the Little Loco couldn't be simpler to describe. Front panel, chunk of thick aluminum with the name Sutherland on it, and a tiny red LED. The back panel, super simple, nothing complicated going on there. A pair of phono inputs, RCA inputs, and a pair of RCA outputs, an IEC outlet for power, and no on-off switch on the front or rear. It's intended to be on all the time. Another thing about it is you don't have to set the loading. So usually moving coils, cartridges have a preferred loading impedance, usually 200 ohms or 300 ohms or 47k ohms. With the Little Loco, you don't have to think about that. There are no options for loading. There's 3 options for gain, sort of low, medium, high, but the loading is not an issue because it is a current mode preamp. And current mode preamps basically are presenting, as they say, a dead short to the phono cartridge. I can't even begin to describe what's going on here. The current is flowing, as Ron says, through the cartridge. So the preamp is working on the current that comes from the cartridge, not the voltage. And pretty much all other phono preamps are voltage amplifiers. They're taking the output voltage of the cartridge and amplifying that. That is not happening in this one, Little Loco or the Grail or a few other current mode preamps. But this whole current mode thing, though it is a current thing right now, it's not a new thing. Ed Meitner was doing this in the 80s. I owned one of his preamps then. It was called the PA6i, and it had an optional phono preamp, which was a transimpedance phono preamp. Now, honestly, it was a long time ago. I can't tell you that I was floored by the sound of that preamp. I liked it overall, but I can't tell you that its phono section was unusually amazing or anything. I don't recall that at all. I'm just bringing it up to say that this whole transimpedance, current mode phono preamp thing isn't a new thing. It's been around, but it's having sort of it's coming back in a big way, at least with a couple of designers. Now, Ron Sutherland told me that it works best, the Little Loco works best with cartridges with low internal impedance. Now, that spec isn't listed for every cartridge, but I can tell you that, well, the cartridge I used for most of this review, which was an Audiophiliac Cadenza Blue, it has an internal impedance of 5 ohms. And I also, later in the review, listened to My Sonic Lab, that's the name of the company, their Eminent EX cartridge, which has an internal impedance of 1 ohm, which is unusually low. But a lot of cartridges are between 5 and 10 or 15 ohms, and they will all work fine. Again, moving coil cartridges. Now, I've heard that somebody tried a Grado cartridge, which is not a moving magnet or a moving coil. I think it's considered a moving iron, and had good results. This is where dealers come into play, because your Sutherland dealer will have some experience trying different cartridges with this preamp that he has sold to his or her customers. So it's not, in other words, it's not a universal device. This is not guaranteed to work miracles with every cartridge you hook up to it. It's not that sort of design. I have to tell you about my turntable for this review, and it is an SME 15. The tone arm is an SME 5. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the records that I played. And first one that I want to tell you about is this one, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, recorded in 2011. Now, she was recording for this label called Daptone. And Daptone is just a couple of miles from where I'm standing right now. I visited the studio maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it's like it's a retro kind of thing. They record to analog tape, 8-track, and the entire band records live to 8-track. And when I listened to this Sharon Jones record with the Sutherland Little Loco, that life that's in the grooves was just startling, because you could just tell they're actually all playing in the room at the same time. And I say that with emphasis because that's not true of most of the records, certainly contemporary records you listen to, which are patched together from different parts and pieces and synthesized and processed and stuff. On a Daptone recording, you're hearing a document, essentially, of what happened in the studio. Okay, next up, the Rolling Stones, Tattoo You. The last great Rolling Stones record, in my opinion, recorded, I guess, in the mid-'80s. The band is still intact, meaning Bill Wyman, the bass player, the original bass player, is still there. They sound like a band. They don't just sound like Mick and Keith and some other guys. It's a unit. And it's got great tunes, and Start Me Up is on it. Great, great record. And Sonny Rollins guests on this record and plays on 2 tracks. He adds this other dimension to the music. Now, Rolling Stones records are not usually great recordings, and though they may have been playing together live in the studio at this point, they just kind of crunchy sounding recordings, bright, just weird distortion running through them. But I got to tell you, here with the Sutherland, I didn't mind it as much. It just came blasting through, and it was a feast. You know this one, mystery record there, Jaconia Youth. I think that's how you say it. So it's sort of an offshoot band of Sonic Youth. And it's into an experimental record. It's got sampling, but it's sort of almost atmospheric. It's ambient even, but lots of noise, lots of crunch, but a really well put together recording. It's anything but natural, but it's a sonic adventure, and I love it for that. And then there's Modern Jazz Quartet. I love this record, but this is the Modern Jazz Quartet with strings. It's a 3rd stream recording, meaning jazz with strings, basically. And some of those jazz with strings things, they're not always the best marriages, but this one is, I think, the ultimate 3rd stream recording. This is strange. I haven't played this record in at least 30 years, and I played it the other day. And it's exotic, it is what the name implies, and it was so deep and so real, and depth, space, completeness in a recording. Wow. I have no idea what I was listening to. It's exotic instruments, certainly to me, and it was a joy. And to finish up with the Beatles, well, again, recording that I've heard my entire life, almost it seems, and something about Paul's voice, something about John's voice and George's voice, they just sound more complete, more fully formed, there's more there, and there's more there in Ringo's drums and in Paul's bass. Information that was lacking before is now present and accounted for right here, right now, in this room. I forgot one rather important detail. Sutherland sells its products with 5-year warranties. My reference preamp is the JC3 Plus by Parasound. And I've used it, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years now, long time. So I was eager to see how the Little Loco and the JC3 Plus compared. And they were very stark differences between the two. First is the JC3 Plus is weightier sounding. It's thicker and fuller sounding. And the Little Loco, by comparison, is leaner, but so much faster sounding, more alive, way more dynamic. The top end is more tactile, more reach out and touch. You can hear the rivets on every cymbal kind of sound. Well, okay, it's just a lot more transparent. And like I said earlier in this review, you can hear with the Little Loco deep into the recording, deep into the quieter parts of the recording. The Little Loco's dynamics from very, very quiet to very, very loud are just way larger. That range is way larger with the Little Loco. And the JC3 just kind of flattens it a bit. Its life, that energy, that life force is just not as present in the JC3 Plus. Soundstage is a similar story, that with the Little Loco, I'm hearing more space. That low-level detail lets me hear the room or the stage or the recording venue that much more clearly. And returning back to the JC3 Plus, it's just not nearly as present in that quiet part of the signal. I really love the JC3 Plus. I don't want to totally diss it. It was my reference for years and years and years. But I think it's met its match with this one. And also with the Vanden Hulk Grail. They both kind of smoked the JC3 Plus. So there you have it. I think I've said my piece. I think I really, really like the Sutherland Little Loco phono preamp. It is very, very special. What else can I tell you? Well, this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, right now coming to you about 4 days a week. If you like it, I urge you strongly to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and when you do, please hit that little notification bell icon so you'll be notified every time there's a brilliant new episode. You should also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/audiophiliac, and now there is, yes, a link to that directly below. You should also check out the playlist. There's playlists for more electronics reviews, speaker reviews, headphone reviews, and of course music reviews, interviews with the fantastic people in the audio universe, famous and not so famous, all here, all right now on the Audiophiliac Daily Show, right here on this channel. So I think we're good. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.